Okay, we're going to get underway. Hopefully everyone can hear me and the audio is okay. So let me know if there are any issues with the audio and we'll get her set. Okay, so tonight what we're going to be talking about is we're going to be talking about how to fundraise approaching major donors. So major donor is a subjective term. Generally speaking, a major donor is anyone who would be able to give you the maximum donation for your campaign. So the first question that candidates often have is, how do I find major donors? Okay, so the first place you're going to look for major donors is in a previous training we talked about coming up with those 100 names. 100 names of people you know who wish you well. And you were dividing them into a couple different ways. And one of the ways that you were dividing them was people that you thought had a household income of $100,000 and higher, like a total household income. Okay, so probably for most people, if you came up with 100 names, 10 of those names or more would be $100,000 of household income or higher. So those are people right there, those 10 people or more would be people that would have the capacity to give you a max donation, depending on your race. You know, when you look at FEC requirements and what the max donation is there, local races have a different max donation, like the race I run for, it's $600, like that's the max donation a person can give. So that's why you want to flex it a little bit. So how do you know what their giving capacity would be? So say someone has $100,000 guessing in their household income, they have the capacity to give $2,000 plus or minus. I mean, it depends on a few things. You know, do they have a lot of property? People who are land rich are often cash poor. Do they have kids that need braces? There's all kinds of things with that. So that's just a general rule of thumb for you to look at that. So what are their capacity? So for every $100,000 of household income they have the capacity to give $2,000. The next thing to do is to turn your small donors into big donors. And that can happen really quick and really easy. And in fact, donor behavior is changing drastically, and small donors are becoming large donors, and they're doing so fairly quickly. So don't discount people with lower income. They may not be able to give a lump sum now, but they may be able to give a recurring monthly donation. Say someone is able to give $50 a month. They can do that each month over 6 months. Well, now you're looking at $300, and that is nothing to sneeze at. But a huge trend in donor behavior right now is super frequent micro donations. So these are people who, instead of giving $50 or something like that, they give $1 or $2. But they're doing it over and over and over and over. Sometimes they are doing it up to 20 times a day. Whenever the mood is striking them, they're hitting that dollar mark, or they're hitting $5 or $2, whatever that is. Some repeat donors like that, micro donors, actually pile up enough donations that they hit that $2,800, which is the FEC maximum legal limit for your federal races. So those micro donors are becoming really a big player. And in fact, some campaigns have seen so much coming in from micro donors that they've had to refund money back to those micro donors because they go past the limit and they don't even realize it. So in your contacts with your smaller donors, Make sure that all of your email solicitations, your text messages, your social media messages, whatever it is, always include an ask for money and a way to donate with either one quick or a quick link. There are companies that can do that for you so that it's just a one-click setup and it remembers their information so they don't have to keep entering information in to do it. They generally take 2 to 4% in processing fees, but they usually don't have a monthly fee. The advantage is they collect the information that the FEC needs for filing. One of those is called Fund a Campaign, fundacampaign.org. But there's many other companies that will do that for you. You can use PayPal, but PayPal does not collect the information that is needed, such as their occupation and employer, that type of information. There are third-party vendors who will do a custom form which interacts with PayPal, so you can get around that. What some candidates do is they accept the donations through PayPal and then they recontact and get that information. If the information is not forthcoming by the time they need to file, they refund that donation. So there's a couple different ways to handle that, but start to take advantage of those micro donations because a micro donor can become a micro or a major donor like that. The next thing is to do some research, okay? And to do this research, you should have a team. So your team should have one person to do research just to find names of possible donors. The second person could research that specific donor and find out everything about them. Do a Google search, find out their likes, what they don't like, groups that they like on Facebook, whatever it is. Other organizations and candidates that they've donated to, they will find out all of that information. And then the third person could be an appointment setter. That's ideally, okay? Actually, ideally, you'd have more than that, but that's what you're going for. However, if you're a candidate doing on your own, that's what you're going to be doing in, late at night, early mornings, that type of stuff. So one of the places you're going to be going to look for that information is fec.gov. And on fec.gov, what you can do is you can look up other libertarian candidates and when they ran and what offices they ran for in your area. Please do in your area. You'll also look for candidates that you have an affinity for or you have like issues, and you can look up their FEC information. So you go onto the fec.gov website, and what you're going to do is you're going to pull up their information. So fec.gov, you'll pull up the candidates, you'll you look up the year that they ran, and you can pull that report. And then you see that's the part that I have circled. Those are the individual contributors, and it's clickable. So what you want to do is click there and get the information. What it's going to do is it's going to pull up some basic information. Now, see that select data type? Okay, I want you to click on that. What that is going to do is it's going to get you into where you can pick the state, where they gave donations in that state, if it's a national candidate or if it's a state candidate or a city, zip code. So you can look that up, but you can also look it up by the amount they donated. So if you're looking for major donors, you could pick people who gave $250 or more, or $500 or more, or $1,000 or more, or whatever criteria you pick, you will be able to do that. So where you pick the money is that receipt details. So when you open that up, that's when you're able to pick the monetary price range. After you do that, it will pull up the people, and then you can pull up this type of sheet. It will give the person's name, it will give their address, and it will give the amount of money they did. And you can see that this donor donated $500. So that's what they were able to give. So that's how you look up on FEC. And on FEC, the type of information that they're going to have, try not to get my tablet here. That's the name, the employer, the city, the state, the date that they donated, the amount, that type of information. So that's what you'll be able to look up on FEC. So those now are all free ways that you can research for major donors. Now there's services that you pay for. They can be donor search, they can be wealth engine. Those are specific to looking up information on donors, finding out what they've donated to, finding out how much they've donated, that kind of information. There's also data companies, so like L2 or Nation Builder or those types of companies that deal in data. So you'll ask them for information on people who live in this geographical area, are interested in X issue, and have donated to, or you can just say have donated, made donations in that area. And then they can pull up all that information and give that to you. And usually you will have their phone number, their email address, their address. Every candidate and charity that they've donated to, the pages that they've liked on Facebook, all kinds of information. I mean, like a truly scary amount of information. So that is a paid service that you will be able to look up, and you can look up by specific issues. So what are the types of donor meetings that you can have? First is discovery, which is learning more about them. Cultivation, which is relationship building, building trust, because people give money to people they trust. Then there's the ask, where you actually ask for money. And then there is stewardship. Now, within a campaign, the timeline is usually so compressed that you're trying to do discovery through research rather than a conversation, although you can do some on the phone. You're going to do the cultivation and the ask at the meeting, and then the stewardship is going to be later. And the stewardship is about getting either a repeat donation, or it's about having them introduce you to people like them, meaning other people who have money and have the capacity and interest to donate, and then they would introduce you to them. So how do you get the meeting? So in your fundraising team, when they're doing their research, you need to look up information on what their likes and dislikes are. So do that search. You're also going to try to get an idea of, what their capacity is. How much in assets do they have? Are there articles written about them? Is there anything on events that they've gone to? That type of information. And then you'll do that, quick check of, every 200,000 or every 100,000 in household income equals $2,000 in per year giving capacity. So you want to have a reason to visit. These are things to think of so that you can get the meeting, right? So your donors are busy people, and the bigger the donor, the busier they're going to be, and the more often they are hit up for donations. So you're not going to ask for a meeting just to get together. You're going to ask for a visit. And this visit is going to be to get their feedback or advice on your campaign, since they're a longtime supporter of issue X. Remember, you looked up what issues they're interested in, and also to explore a giving opportunity. And you're going to be pretty upfront about that. So it is a visit to ask advice on your campaign because they're a longtime supporter of issue X, and explore a giving opportunity. You're also going to want to make it easy. So Think about the potential visit from their point of view. They have other things going on in their life, right? They're busy, they got a company to run, they have family obligation, they're probably have a lot of volunteer obligations, all that kind of stuff. So you want to make your meeting with your donors as easy as possible. So before you call, think about ways to make it easy for them. Offer to go to them. Or it may have to be a call if that is not possible. You could go to their office, their home, a venue close to them. Make it short. Don't ask to meet for an hour because that's probably not going to happen. 20 to 30 minutes is about the time period that you should ask for. The donor can decide if they want to speak to you longer, and they'll clear their schedule. But start with that 20 to 30 minute time, and then suggest a date and time. Giving your donor a starting point can help them say, oh, that date won't work, but Tuesday would. So that's how you want to do to make it easy. You're going to create a script. So have a script for your donations, and a script is going to help you pull it all together. So a script could be, for example, hi, this is Kara Schultz, and I'm running for X office. Is this Jessica? Well, hello, Jessica. I'm calling to see if you'd like to have coffee for about 20 minutes one day soon. I was told by X that you have a passionate interest in X issue, and I would love your advice on my campaign and also to explore a giving opportunity. Is Tuesday the 9th at 11 a.m. good for you? I'm happy to meet at a coffee shop near your home or wherever you think it's convenient. Now, chances are you're not going to rattle that whole thing off. They will probably respond, right? So keep it flowing like a conversation. So whether it's you having this conversation or whether it's your appointment setter having that conversation, that's kind of how the conversation goes. So what happens if you can't get them on the phone? Try sending a personal handwritten letter, hand addressed on the outside with a regular stamp. Do not have it printed on the outside, handwritten. And you're going to want to have basically what I did for that script, but touching just slightly more on that issue, the issue that you're passionate about and they're passionate about. You can meet your donor at an event. Find out what events the donor likes to go to and see if you can get into that event. See if someone you know can take you as a guest or invite you. See if someone you know knows them and that they can introduce you. And then the third way is, if you can't get them on the phone, start working your 7 degrees of Kevin Bacon. Ask people who they know who might know this person, and then get that contact and get a personal introduction. So now remember, you're not setting an appointment. You're arranging a visit. Appointments are not fun. Doctor's appointments, dentist's appointments, those are not fun. Visits are fun because you chat, maybe have some food, have a lovely conversation. Visits are fun. Okay, don't ask if you can drop by to tell them how your campaign is doing. Also not good. Successful fundraising is about getting to know what's important to your donor. So you want to begin by getting them to talk about what's important to them. If they know that you are genuinely interested in what they have to say, they'll open up to you. They'll be a lot more willing to accept your visit. Don't talk about specific dollar amounts yet, even if they bring it up. This is not the time to do that. So save this for your in-person visit. Okay? Because if you bring up that specific dollar amount, they're going to be saying, you know what, I don't have that money to give. They're just going to shut down right at the moment. You want to start a conversation to see if there is an opportunity for you guys to work together. And offer choices for the timing of the visit. Okay? Don't let them tell you that they're going to think about it and get back to you, because they're ghosting you. So try not to do that. Offer 2 or 3 choices if they don't jump on the first one. and then they'll generally pick one of those choices. So what should you bring to your meeting? What should you prepare for the meeting? First of all, identify your goal for the meeting. If you know your goals for the meeting and you have kind of a loose agenda, that's going to keep you on track during the meeting, because when you get there, you're going to be nervous. Even people that have done this over and over and over, they're nervous. Prepare open-ended questions so that you can keep the conversation flowing. Have them written down, because the goal here is to learn more about their interests as they relate to your campaign and seek the donor's advice and have them become involved in your campaign. The donation is the bonus. Make a list of possible objections that they could have, either for avoiding the meeting or for cutting the meeting short, that type of thing. And then prepare redirecting statements. So if you have an objection, think of what you would say if the person would say that objection to you. Practice that with a friend and ask them, does that sound like crap? Does that sound corny? Did that sound too pushy? Did you understand what I was saying? See how that works. Now, once you get the meeting, make sure you go on Google and do your research. If you had your volunteer do the research for you, make sure you look through it carefully. So you're going to want to know about their previous giving, really anything, information about their kids, if they have hobbies, anything that's going on in their life, if they've been in articles anytime. You're going to use these as ways to start building that relationship with your donor. And unless the donor says specifically that they only want to meet with you, it's okay to come to your meeting with another person, especially if, say, it was a board member or like a school board member is introducing you to this prospect. Ask that person to join you at the meeting. Or say you have a major donor meeting and they donate and they say, you know what, I know this person and they would love you. Have them come to that meeting with you. If you bring someone along, there's a better chance that the donor will have a personal connection with at least one of you, and they probably know the other person. It's also good to have multiple perspectives at the meeting to get feedback later on what went well and what didn't. So here is what you should physically bring to the meeting. Number one is a press kit. Chick-fil-A, I don't even know what to say to that. So here's a list of what you should be bringing in your packet. So here's your press kit. A basic campaign press kit includes a cover letter, which describes just a little bit about you and your campaign. It should be inspirational. A candidate biography should have a photo, maybe some web links. Press releases, any press releases that you've done. Digital copies of your logo or any of your campaign lit that you have. Newspaper or other media excerpts. And a question and answer sheet that covers the issues the donor cares about, but only those. So the question and answer sheet covering the issues that the donor cares about only. Also, you can come with a pledge form or a donation sheet, any recent PR, maybe a campaign video. So that's what you should physically bring with you. When visiting a donor, I try to get them speaking and listen to them first. Then I match up what I have brought up with me to what we're talking about and kind of point out things that may be of interest to them. Now, some donors are very rational and they want to go with like facts and figures and that kind of stuff. Others are much more emotional based and they want to talk about how things feel, that kind of thing. So, be thoughtful about your listening. Get to know your donors first before you share the press kit, and keep those open-ended questions going. If you get stuck on them, ask them about their family, ask them about their hobbies, ask them what keeps them awake at night. You can ask them how they make decisions on whom they support, how they go through their email, and know what to read because they must get a ton of email. Maybe out of all the donations that they've given, which one brought them the most joy? So just get those open-ended questions going. Plan to leave your entire packet behind. You may use only a few pieces of it, but plan to leave that packet behind. Don't worry if your press kit is not perfect yet. Don't let that stop you. It may be one of the things that you're asking for fundraising money for, is to have a better press kit, to have a better media packet, to have better campaign materials. So that's okay. The focus should be on your donor and their interests. All these other things are very ancillary. So here's some general tips about the meeting. In general, talk about their kids, not yours. Never correct them. No matter how tired you are, never let it show. Make them feel like they are the most important thing in your day. Observe their body language and be really conscious of yours. If you're speaking to more than one person, make sure to look at everyone and make eye contact with them. Ask those open-ended questions. Smile. Show some enthusiasm. Be very candid. Do not spin. Do not gossip. Do not trash your competitor. Stay interested and show that you're interested. When they are giving you information, it's okay to say, tell me more. Get more information out of them. Delve a little deeper into it. Also, I'm sorry, I don't quite understand what you mean by that. That also shows you're paying attention. It doesn't mean that you're stupid. It shows you're paying attention. Jot down notes to show that what the donor just told you is important to you and that you want to remember it. Bring up topics of interest to the donor. Remember why you're in that meeting in the first place. The person who asks the questions is in the driver's seat. We think that by talking, we're in control. That's not true. It's by asking questions and then listening that we're in control of the conversation. That's how you have the advantage. Above all else, make them feel important. And do not leave without a check, a pledge, a follow-up item, or a reason why they said no. One of those four. So make sure. Now we'll get into kind of the psychology of major donors. So just because a person has money doesn't mean they're going to give it to you. Okay, so why do people give? Especially major donors. Maybe it's ego. They may fear something happening. Could be a habit. They're just very generous people. Could be peer pressure. It could be they want to affect policy through your campaign. But usually it's because they were asked. So why don't they give? They feel exploited. You seem insincere. You lack conviction. Your appeal is unrealistic, or they feel it's too vague. They don't see you as a viable candidate. So before you ask a major donor for money, you do need to know the following. And we've kind of go over this, but man, I can't stress it enough. How much can they donate? Have they donated to candidates and causes in the past? Did you uncover their needs, wants, and desires? What's their emotional triggers? What is the criteria that they are going to judge you by in their decision on whether to donate or not? And how do they prefer that you communicate with them? What method? Email, texting, calling, in person? What? What is it? So let's look at crafting your message. To craft your pitch, you're going to need to put the following information together. And this is where we're getting to the ask. We're right at the ask, where you're ready to ask for the donation. You need to put in why you're running for office and what concrete ways you can improve people's lives. What you need to do to get into office and what it will cost. So this is crafting the pitch. And I'm going to follow those 3 steps right now. So the first part is how you can, the challenge and how you can fix it, right? Our city is starting to decline and average property values are starting to fall and businesses are now leaving. So to reverse course, we need to eliminate business zoning, get rid of any regulations that aren't strictly safety-based. And then we're going to need to retrain our city staff to stop saying no to development and to start saying, how can we work together? So that was the challenge. That was the solution. Now, how are you different? How are you able to implement that? What makes it realistic for you to be able to get done? Got it on the audio. I think it's when I sit back, so we'll see if that works. So how you're different is I've been meeting with developers, policy experts, and the other city council members, and I have a coalition ready to move forward on day 1. Now you're going to get to what it costs, the ask. Okay? If you donate, you will help open up our city to redevelopment and revitalize it. The maximum donation is $5,000. Is that something you feel comfortable with? So after you do that, remain silent. They may have questions. They may say no. They may write a check. They may counter with another amount. But that's the ask, and then you sit quietly. So I'll go through that again. Our city's starting to decline, and average property values are falling, and businesses are starting to leave. To reverse course, we need to eliminate business zoning, get rid of any regulations that aren't strictly safety-based. We also need to retrain city staff to stop saying no to developers and to start saying, how can we work together on this? I've been meeting with developers, policy experts, and also city council members, and I have a coalition ready to move forward the day I'm sworn in. The maximum donation is $5,000. Is that something you're comfortable with? So that's how the ask goes. To get a donation, you need agreement on 3 areas. Does the donor agree with your campaign objectives? The challenge and the solution. Do they think you can accomplish what you said you were going to do, both in getting elected and then being able to affect that policy? The amount of money that they give will make a difference. They have to believe that that amount will make a difference, that it's not just pissing in the wind. And also the timing has to be right. They have to agree that this is the time to do so. If all of those 4 are a yes, you'll walk away with the donation. If any of them is a no, you won't. So if you get a no, this is not the end. What you need to do is find out why, what happened, not just to see if you can change it to a yes. I mean, that may happen, but that's really not the purpose of why you're going to be asking questions. It's so that if something is going wrong with your pitch, you can change it before you meet with your next donor. So if they say no or they give a drastically smaller amount, thank them for their time. Pause for a moment and then say, forgive me for asking, but I thought you would be a donor and be supporting my campaign. Is it my solutions that are giving you pause? and then wait for the answer. If they say, no, actually, I agree that that's a problem, and that seems like a reasonable solution. That's what I would like to have happen. Ask them, oh, okay, is it the timing of the donation? It may be a bad time for them. Okay, well, in that case, you can leave with a pledge for them to donate at a later date, and then you will need to follow up with them to make sure that happens. If they say, no, it's not the timing, you'll need to ask them, is it my campaign plan? Because they may not think you're a viable candidate, and that's when this will come out. If they say, well, no, actually, I think the campaign is viable. Okay. Is it the amount? Maybe you asked for too low and they think you're not serious. Maybe you asked for too much and, they think it needs to be less. That's okay. Find out what that is. The last question, if all of those is fine, ask them, was it something I did during this meeting? Did I not come across well? And that may be the point where they say, you know what? You were sweating and shaking like a nervous chihuahua. That does not instill confidence. Like, if you're not confident in this meeting with me, how could you be confident working with voters? And then that tells you need to work on your presentation. So Joe says, I had someone tell me I don't donate to political campaigns anymore. I invest my money in creating my own freedom where I can be sure of its effectiveness. So for someone who says they specifically don't donate to campaigns anymore, they took time with you for a reason. So it may be that they're not going to donate to you, but something interested them. And I would just ask them and just say, okay, that's fine that you don't donate to candidates or campaigns anymore. I am curious. Why were you interested in meeting with me? And find out what that is. If they liked what they heard, if they had a reason for wanting to meet with you, you can follow that up with, okay, this may not be something that you're interested in for donating. It may not fit your philosophy of what you want to do at this present time. But do you have someone that you think I should contact that would be very interested in this particular issue and would be interested in supporting a candidate like me? Exactly. They may be interested in helping other ways. Absolutely, Heather. So that's how you walk through that. So remember, if it's a no, walk through these so that the next time you go before a donor, you do better and better and better. Also, sometimes after they give you this feedback, or they may say, you know what, I don't like your campaign plan, or I don't like the solution, they may give you feedback, and they may actually get really involved in your campaign. They may become a trusted advisor of your campaign. And remember, don't leave unless you have a donation, a pledge for a donation at a later date, a follow-up item, or your reasons for, the behind the no. So make sure you have that. Follow-up after is important. After the meeting, you must send them a handwritten thank you note, no matter what happened at the meeting, within 24 hours. That, like, when you leave that meeting, you can even sit in your car and fill that thing out, put a stamp on it, address the outside of it, and drop it in a mailbox immediately. But within 24 hours, for a major donor, you need to have that out there. If they had questions, answer the question in there. But don't answer it totally because you want to get that second appointment. If there's a follow-up item, put that agreement. You wanted to know X, or we were going to have a second meeting talking about this on this date. Look forward to seeing then. You're going to reiterate that there. But no matter what happens, you're going to thank them for their time. If they didn't donate and they gave you valuable advice, mention that. You never know what will happen in the future. Many donors who donate on the first time, They want to wait and see how a candidate behaves after a no happens. And it's what happens after the no that makes them decide whether they're going to give money. Or they may give a very, very low amount and see how you react to that and see how your campaign develops, and then look at doing a larger donation later. So that's what I have as far as major donations and working with major donors. Does anyone else in chat have any questions? Anyone? If you do have questions later, you can get a hold of me. On the front panel here, it has my contact information, so it has my email, how to get a hold of me, that type of information. If you are a candidate and you are thinking about running for office in the Libertarian Party, go to that URL, hit the Run for Office, and fill out the form, and I will get back to you. If any of you have questions later, you can always get a hold of me, and I will greatly appreciate it. But I know this was a lot of information I threw at you very quickly, but just let me know if you have any questions. Otherwise, I will let you go for the evening. I will wait just a moment or two to see if anyone has anything else. Oh, yep. Thank you. Thank you guys for coming. This was pretty fantastic. This was a lot of fun. And I will be doing these trainings every Monday. So we'll be working on these. I will try to run these trainings to hit the time points that you need to be hitting. This is your prime time for fundraising now until the end of February. That's when you're going to be raising about 25 to 30% of your campaign funds. So I will try to hit each training as it should be hitting during your campaign season. So thank you very much, and I will see you next Monday.